Welcome back, everybody.
Part two.
Yes, part
Yeah,
2.
station identification.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
I figured out that why do a whole long show for an hour when we could do two half-hour shows, and I mean, but have them the same. I made it. But I made one stipulation to Mary when this great idea came about. Is I'm not going to wear different clothes.
Yeah.
I can wear the same clothes the second
I will call our station MEJKL. Mary Elizabeth George is Kaye Lazar.
Yeah.
That's
Well, actually, it's the Mary Elizabeth Variety R. I was thinking of doing a show,
yeah.
the Kaye Lazar half a comedy hour. But then when
Right.
I did that, people thought it was only half the comedy.
Right.
So I said,
Right.
no, no,
Okay.
no. It's as funny as any half hour.
Right. Right.
I did a show with Gorgeous George for many years, and I remember once saying that this was a half hour of great entertainment stretched out to an hour. Of course, he didn't like that. George and I, and a lot of men in my age,
Right.
we have like a Peter Pan syndrome.
Yes. And you never want to grow up, right?
Never want to grow up. We're still kids.
Yeah.
We're grown up.
Right.
We still got
Yes.
gray hair.
Yes.
You know, I heard of Larry the Cable Guy.
Right.
He says you're getting old when you have a gray nose hair.
Huh?
Can't pluck them all. But anyway, yeah. So you grow up, but you're still in your head. I think
Right.
all entertainers are that way. You,
Right.
me, we're all like,
Right.
you know. I'm so immature.
Yeah.
I'm so, I am. I am. I
Oh,
I'm I'll tell you how immature I am.
Lord.
Like when I have to buy a car,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how good the car is. If I don't like the color of it, oh, I like the purple one. The red one looks very nice. Oh, that lime green one. Oh, that's so cool. And it doesn't matter
Mm.
what it might, you might have to push it every
Right.
time you start it. But
Right. Right.
well, a nice beige or tan car,
Mhm.
I have no interest in because I don't want to
Right.
be seen driving a family car. I want to drive a
Right.
hot rod.
Mm.
So the Peter Pan. When you were a kid, yeah, did you ever see Peter Pan?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I love Peter Pan.
Yeah,
My favorites were Tinkerbell and Wendy and Michael and John.
yeah. Not Captain Hook.
Well, Captain Hook
I always rooted for him.
was mean. Really?
Well,
Captain
really,
Hook was
no,
so
no. Yeah,
mean.
Captain Hook. I always felt bad for Captain Hook. I mean, that 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 alligator always following him with the ticking clock. There was a movie with Dustin Hoffman in it where he played Captain Hook, and I remember that they never, what was
Mm.
kind of a joke that I caught, but almost
Mm.
no one in the audience caught, was that they never knew what time it was, and you never saw a clock in Never Never Land
Mm.
because he just did not like hearing ticking clocks.
I was like, why would you cheer for Captain Hook?
Captain Hook, well, Captain, he had his arm cut off. Was it an arm? Yeah,
Yeah,
his arm.
and he had a hook. That's why
Did
they
he have
called him
an eye
Captain.
patch?
Yeah, he had an eye patch. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
I feel sorry for people with eye patches and
Yeah.
hooks
Well, I
and
mean,
peg
it
legs.
makes sense, I guess.
I mean, if they're usually not very. I mean, let's face it. If you had those three things hurled at you, and then everyone making fun of you on top of that,
Yeah.
you're not going to be the most pleasant of people.
I know. Well, that makes sense. Totally makes
I
sense.
don't even know
So.
what did he do? What did he want? What did he have against Peter Pan? I keep forgetting that. Did he want to kill him or something? Did he want to eat him? What did he do? Want to? He wanted to have him for dinner. I don't know what was he upset with. I don't know what he was upset with. But so a friend of mine said that I have Peter Pan syndrome, and said I'd better do something about it because people with Peter Pan syndrome don't live very long. I said,
Mhm.
really? This is said this a good while ago, and said, yeah, Michael Jackson has had Peter Pan syndrome, and he didn't live very long. I said that isn't what killed him.
Yeah.
Taking propofol every night, being anesthetized every night is guys
Right.
will have his you know
Yeah.
will have his I think it overwhelms anything that Peter Pan never did to Michael Jackson.
Right.
Peter Pan. What else can I tell you about Peter Pan? Peter Pan. Uh, oh, there was a Mary Martin in the 1950s. I've seen it a few
Yes.
times
Yes.
on
Yes.
television. That was before my time.
Uh-huh.
But I've seen it, I think Kathy Rigby and
Oh
Sandy
yeah.
Duncan. They always get a
Oh yeah.
woman to play Peter Pan.
Yeah. It's
Why is
weird.
that?
I
Yeah.
know.
Mary Martin, of course, is most famous, and
Yeah.
she was Larry Hagman's mother,
Yes.
J.R. Ewing's mother.
Yes. Yes.
I saw Mary Martin once in New
Oh
York.
really?
I as
Oh.
I heard her voice. She goes, "Taxi!" And I turned around, and it was Mary Martin going into the.
Oh
And
wow.
she was gone so fast I didn't have a chance to say hello to her. This was
Oh.
probably in the '80s. She's still
Mhm.
alive in the '80s. She's still working in the '80s, living in New
Mhm.
York. The Queen of Broadway.
Yeah.
Very good singer, Mary Martin. But anyway, I remember watching it as a little kid, and they and anytime you saw Peter Pan
Mhm.
uh fly at the end, if you
Mhm.
believe you can fly, and then fly, and all the kids go, ah, he's flying, and then there's always one guy says, it's a wire. It's a wire. I can see the wire. So anyway, we're watching it. I'm old. I'm grown up at this point,
Mhm.
and then there's a little kid in the family who's like 4,
Right.
and we're all watching a rerun of Mary
Uh-huh.
Martin as
Yeah.
Peter
Yeah.
Pan.
Yeah.
And if you could believe, you could fly. If you could believe, you could fly. And the kid turned to me and said, "Is that true? That if you believe, you could fly?" I said, "Well, according to Peter Pan, it is."
Yeah.
And then my mother said, "She's flying on a wire." I said, "Mom, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that to a little kid? She's flying on a wire, just like those guys in the audience." So she said, um, "Because I don't want her jumping off the roof thinking she can fly." And I said, "Yeah, maybe you have a point there." You see,
Right.
I thought I could fly like Superman. I tried jumping out of a tree once with a cape, and I
Yeah.
thought all I needed was a good start. But
Yeah.
luckily I didn't get hurt. I'm a lucky man.
Right.
But
Okay.
anyway, but I could see how that could happen, and so we had Peter Pan. Now, when you think of Peter Pan, there's a lot of versions. There's Finding Neverland. There's Hook. I mentioned the movie.
Yes, I saw
There's
Hook. I saw
the
Hook back in.
Disney. Yeah,
It was made in 1991 with Julia Roberts and playing Tinkerbell.
yeah. That was a
Yeah,
very
and
troubled
I
movie.
think Robin Williams.
He was the grown-up Peter Pan. Yeah,
Yeah.
if there's such a thing.
Yeah.
It's Gwyneth's first movie. I
Mm.
remember. I remember being kind of bored with it
Gwyneth
though.
Paltrow.
Yeah, she plays
Oh,
a
I
little
don't.
girl in it.
Oh.
Not Wendy. Like Peter Pan has a family, and I think she's the daughter
Oh.
there.
Okay.
But and she only got the part
I've heard,
because she was as a favor
it's
to
been
her
years.
father,
Yeah.
who was a famous
It's been years since I saw that
producer in Hollywood.
one, but
Huh?
I didn't know
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow played
Well, if
in
you see
it.
it now, you'll see Gwen.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's weird when you see old movies. You see
yeah,
all of it. Oh, I didn't know he was in this movie.
yeah. I know.
Oh, I saw a movie. You're gonna love it, where Jack Nicholson turns to a wolf. But if
Oh,
you watch it now, it's kind of funny because the his assistant is played by the actor who plays Niles Crane on Frasier. So I said, "What's
oh,
he doing in this movie?" Then it gets even better. At the end of the movie, Jack gets arrested, turning into a wolf in the Wolfman in the Central Park, and the arresting officer is David Schwimmer,
mm.
Ross from Friends. They said, "What's Ross arresting the Wolfman for?"
Oh,
So I mean, it's weird when you see the movies again.
right,
Oh, I didn't know he was in this movie. Yeah.
right.
So anyway, so we had a movie playing when I was working in a movie theater, It was Peter Pan. It was the Disney one,
Oh
the
yeah.
cartoon,
Yeah.
and with I think Hans Conried did the voice of Captain Hook.
Yeah.
And what happened was, and this is very funny, Hans Conried was a uh, he was Uncle Tanous on Make Room for Daddy with
Oh
Danny
okay.
Thomas.
Yeah.
He was a very funny man, and he well anyway he this version he was very good as the voice of Captain Hook. Oh, by the way, when you see the play, Wendy's father and Captain Hook is usually the same actor.
Oh wow.
I don't know if you noticed that. They just put a big,
And then they
Louis
would
the 14th wig on him
right.
and give him a hook
And
and
then they
then
would dub the voice, you know.
well usually it's the same actor. I mean the audience
Right.
usually knows
Right.
that, but a lot of little kids may not recognize that
Right.
Wendy's. He's not hardly in it. Wendy's
Right.
father.
Right.
He's only at the beginning and the end, but then Captain Hook is
Oh okay.
the main guy
Oh
in the middle. So
okay.
so anyway, um, so anyway, I so so I had this. I was in some play at the time. I was only in my 20s, and I was an usher at this movie theater, and we
Yeah.
were showing this movie. And I was, I got along with all the other
Yes.
ushers who
Yeah.
were a lot younger than me. They're
I
all
was
in
an
high
usher.
school.
I was an usher at the movie theater.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
was your big movie there?
Our big movie was Anna and the King. There's a bunch of big
Oh
movies.
yeah.
There's a
It
bunch of
was
big movies.
it was the King and I without music,
Yes.
without singing and dancing.
Yeah, but
What good is that?
I like the musical better.
Yeah, everyone likes them. Everyone likes the musical better
I
of
mean,
anything.
the other one was good too, but
I'm glad the Music Man doesn't have a serious counterpart.
yeah,
I mean, My Fair Lady has
yeah,
Pygmalion,
yeah,
Anne and the King and the King and
right,
I, and what else? There's a few of them like that. And yeah, oh, Camelot has the King Arthur. You
yeah.
know, but all the stories.
There's a lot more movies that were popular
Yeah.
than all those things.
Even Peter Pan.
Right.
There's actually non-musical versions of Peter Pan,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you always think of it as a musical,
yeah.
either the Mary Martin one or the Disney
Uh
cartoon.
huh.
So we had the Disney cartoon there, and I was in a play, and I had to wear a hook in the play.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't Peter Pan, but I had to wear a hook in this play, so I had the prop hook. So so I said I brought it to work one day. Look what I said. This is I call me Captain Hook, just like a Peter Pan. Great humor I had, great sense of humor in those days.
Mm.
So they said, "Oh, that's wonderful that hook. You should scare the kids when they come out, of the matinee." And I said, "Yeah, that's gonna be hilarious." So then the kids came out, and I started running after them in my uniform, my usher's uniform with the hook. And one kid started crying and was
Oh.
dragged away by his mother. And I thought the mother was going to tell my boss, and I was going to get fired. So I said, "Oh man." Luckily, the boss was at lunch, so there was no boss to complain to.
Yeah.
So she may have knocked on the door, and oh, he's at lunch. I'll just skip it. So anyway, so so it said, hey, and they said, let's do it for the next. I said, no, the next show, the 3 o'clock show. I said, no.
Right. Right.
Let's. I don't want to be fired. I'm going to be one who's going to take the fall for this if anything
Right.
goes wrong. So, but the hook is pretty funny. We should
Right.
do something with the
Right.
hook.
Right. Right.
So what happened was, I got a great idea, and a guy came up with this great idea. And what happened is, when all the kids came out, we're all wearing the uniform, the costume with a blazer, tie,
Mm-hmm.
a shirt, and all look very well coiffed and everything. And we said, and we all waved at the kids when they left, through the exit. It was like full house,
Yeah.
and they all left, and we're all waving at the kids and their mothers. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming to the theater today. Thank you for coming to the theater. And
Yeah.
right at the end, I'm there with a hook, just swinging a hook.
Oh my lord.
And then the kids will go, and then yeah, I know. I fancy myself a filmmaker around that same time, and I'm not kidding you. This is really cool. I made this not a documentary. I made this little film, and I needed someone to introduce it. and I wanted someone of importance. And he came. This is weird. These two handicapped celebrities came to Regency Square, and what it was was it was really funny. They well, that not that they were handicapped, but I never spoke to the woman who was in a
Right.
wheelchair. Her name was V.C. Andrews, and she wrote a lot
Oh
of
wow.
books. Flowers in the Attic, I think, it was her big
Mhm.
hit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a good movie.
Yeah,
Flowers in
and
the
then
Attic.
made a movie. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but the other guy was really famous.
Mhm.
His name was Harold Russell, and he
Wow.
lost his both of his hands in World War II. I
Mm.
think something exploded, and he lost both of his hands, and he had hooks for hands. And he made a movie called The Best Years of Our
Oh
Lives, and he
wow.
won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He only made the one
Wow.
movie, and then I think years later he made a second movie, and then he appeared on a few shows. He was always on talk shows and stuff talking about.
Mhm.
But he won an Oscar, and he was a non-actor. And he won an Oscar. Well, he came to Regency, and I met him, and I had him hold the microphone while I had my Super 8 camera, introducing my buddy,
Wow.
Oscar winning actor
Wow.
Harold Russell. So I got he only made like two other movies, and I was his third director who worked with him. Worked with Harold Russell. I worked with Mary Badham. I worked with all the people who only made a few movies and got quite high acclaim. So anyway, so yeah, so I was waving this hook. I was kind of so I was kind of like I always wondered about how do you manage not having hands. I can understand not having one hand, but both hands, and it'd have to be your left hand. My mom once broke her arm, her right arm, and she broke her left arm, and then she broke her right arm. Not at the same time, but
Mhm.
around over time.
Right.
And she handled the left arm all right, but when she broke her right arm, she couldn't do anything. I said, you know what you do with your left arm? You know what people do with their left arm? And I said, what? She said, sweet damn all, meaning that you don't use your left arm for anything.
Mm.
I mean, if you're right-handed, if you're, if switch it if you're left-handed. The only thing you use your left hand or left arm for is when you're cutting something with
Right.
scissors. You need your other hand
Right. Right.
to hold it in place. Other than
Yeah.
that, I don't know. I could beat you up with one hand time. Better be my left hand. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Now, so yeah, so I mentioned celebrities I've met. I've never met
Right.
Bob Hope.
Oh wow.
Never met Bob. No, not never met him. Never saw him. And he
Mm.
was a guy that was always around. He was
Mm.
always doing stuff. And what do you know about Bob Hope?
Well, my grandfather told me from what he heard years ago that him and Dorothy Lamour were together.
Oh, that was his girlfriend.
Well, they were in movies together, yeah.
Well,
But
yeah. There's always these rumors about Bob Hope. Bob Hope kept a tight lid on any sort
but
of
I heard,
gossip about him. Yeah.
but my grandfather told me that he heard that he was more nicer than Dorothy Lamour.
Oh, he met them both.
He hasn't.
Was he
I
in?
don't
Was he
think
in the
he's.
war? Was he in like a USO show or something?
I know. I don't think he met them personally, but I think
Mm.
he heard from somebody, told him about, that they met them
Well,
or something.
when people tell you secondhand,
Yeah.
unless they actually did meet Bob Hope, that's
Yeah.
another story. But I let's see, what can I tell you about Bob Hope? He was in the USO. He
Mhm.
became famous. He was actually rather controversial. He was like for the war, Vietnam War,
Mhm.
and being pro-war before the Vietnam War wasn't it was actually anti-war was actually a stigma, and he would go to the entertain the troops. Story goes he didn't get paid for that, which is good, but he got a lot of free publicity out of it. And one of the things like a lot of soldiers were kind of upset with him
Right.
personally was Bob Hope was promoting the war. He would go entertain the troops, probably not getting paid for it, which is fine. But
Right.
then um, taping the show and then running it at home on NBC as a special, then
Oh.
making the money, which is
Oh.
kind of opportunistic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And but all in all, I think he did good. I think somebody made a point. Maybe not him. I think it was Martha Ray
Mm.
or Al Jolson also kind of became famous
I love
performing.
Martha Ray
Yeah,
and
well,
Al
Martha,
Jolson.
and they actually did it around the same time Bob Hope did it in World War II,
Yeah.
and then Al Jolson didn't live. I think he died in Korea. I think Al Jolson,
Hmm.
entertaining troops, but the Martha Ray and Bob Hope continued doing it through the
Yeah.
Vietnam War and everything.
Yeah.
So they said you better put on a good show, and they would say to the other actors in the show, and they said, "What do you mean put on a good show? They said because these guys may fight in a battle later that day and may die. This may be the last entertainment, the last joy they'll ever have. So you better, so let's give it our all." And they did.
Yeah.
So with that in mind. Uh, one thing about Bob Hope was he was a good actor. Bob Hope.
Yeah.
He
It
You
was.
never saw him play anything but the same sort of character. Usually a coward. Usually a
Yeah.
guy in a lot of trouble. People are after him. He's almost almost like a character in a Hitchcock movie.
Mm.
Only like a Cary Grant in North by Northwest type of character. But he was always the crooks are after him, the cops are after him, and he's trying to
But he was funny.
and he was
Yeah.
but he was
Yeah.
funny. I mean, that was the whole point. It was usually you know what a comedy is.
Yeah.
Comedies are defined. They usually have they always have happy
Yeah.
endings.
Right.
So a comedy, things are going to work out well.
Yeah.
So Bob Hope, Woody Allen thought that Bob Hope was a underrated actor,
Right.
and made a film called Love and Death, which
Oh.
ends the last part of it with an attempted assassination
Right.
by a Russian
Right.
of Napoleon,
Hmm.
and there's a movie exactly like that Bob Hope was in called Monsieur Beauclair, which is actually quite
Oh.
funny movie.
Okay.
And Bob Hope,
I like him in Sorrowful Jones
Sorrowful
with
Jones, yeah,
Lucille Ball in it.
Lucille, yeah, and he was in movies like Son of Paleface and
Hmm.
Paleface and I
Yeah.
saw when I went to the drive-in as a kid. That's when we were that Bob Hope was almost in every other movie,
Right.
like Elvis.
My
Elvis or
grandfather.
Bob Hope were in the movie.
Yeah, my grandfather would try to cut every single Bob Hope movie there was.
Yes, but I heard that he didn't get along well with Richard Nixon because not Richard Nixon. He didn't get along well with Johnny Carson.
Oh wow.
And the reason why he didn't get along with Johnny Carson is, well, I don't think Bob had anything against Johnny, but Johnny did not like the idea that he would just walk on the show and he had to follow like these questions he had to follow, and all he never gave a real interview. All he did was tell jokes the whole time,
Yeah.
and if Carson missed a question or something, then Bob Hope wouldn't know how to answer it because
Oh.
he actually knew the order of the of
Wow.
those answers.
Yeah.
One thing that was neat was when I was a kid, he had all these specials, and the specials actually were quite funny,
Yeah.
and variety specials with guests on there and skits,
Yeah.
and they're usually very topical. And he would do these without the monologue, and which was actually the best part. He would spend the first 10 minutes just telling jokes of what's going on in the
Yeah.
news, but for some reason he would talk about things like a few days ago when the show was on tonight. He says, "Wait a minute, did he tape this like a couple of weeks ago or something?" What happened was whenever he appeared on Carson, I found out um, he for some reason he'd leave before the show was over, but then he would come back when the show was over, and they say to the audience, "You want to stay?" Bob Hope is going to give his monologue
Ah,
that's going to be shown tomorrow. So that's
right.
how we could get all the
Right.
jokes about
Right. Right.
Ed Meese or
Right.
or
Right.
John Sununu
Yes.
or whoever was in the news that
Yes.
day.
Yes.
So keep it topical. The shows were usually on at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and I always wanted to watch it because I'd watch anything that was funny.
Right.
And my mom said, "No, you have to go to bed. You have to go to bed. You have to go to bed. You have to learn. You have
It's
to have
work
your
till the
yeah.
morning.
You have to wake up in the morning and eat your cereal and
Yeah.
bacon and eggs and all that stuff." So what
Yeah.
happened was, I said, "Come on, I'm a good student. Let me watch at least some of the Can I see like the monologue, the jokes?" And she goes, "Okay, you can watch the monologue." And which is usually the funniest one. "Hey man, this is Bob Hope. I tell you, man, it's really wild up here. Hey, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Hey,
Right. Right.
hey, we have Brooke Shields. We have a man that's going to bring delight to all the little children today.
Right.
No, it's not Santa Claus. We're gonna have Bozo the Clown."
Bozo the clown.
we're gonna have Billy Carter here. I'll tell you. I
Yeah.
tell you, Billy Carter's going to be here, and he just drank a keg of beer, and he's got in case the set catches on fire,
Right,
we can put him to
right,
good use.
right. Yeah, that's funny.
So yeah, Bob
Yeah.
Hope, yeah. So Bob, oh, if you ever get it, I think you can find it on YouTube. I'm going to try to put it in the comments. There's a there's an hour and a half special he did, which is a spoof of Jaws called Joys, where all these comedians are being murdered.
Right.
And every comedian at the time, this is like 1977, is there.
Mm.
And it's so cool, and it has a really cool surprise ending at the end. So it begins with Vincent Price, and I think he gets murdered right at the first the
Oh,
first part.
I like Vincent Price
Well,
though.
everyone's in it, and what's noteworthy about it is that Groucho Marx
Oh yeah.
and Jerry Colonna, the guy with the big mustache that was on the Bob
Right,
Hope show a lot.
right.
That's their last appearances anywhere. Long
Yes,
careers, last. So
yes,
it's called Joys. And I remember watching it as a kid, and I thought it was
yes.
so funny. And
Oh,
so I'm going to put that in the link, and I think
right.
all
Okay.
our guests will like that.
Yes,
And so I I really enjoyed being here with you, Mary Elizabeth. It's always a good time
yes,
with you. So thanks for inviting me on your the today is the first day of the rest of your life without COVID-19.
yes, yes. Hallelujah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes. I just wanted to thank you all for tuning in and be safe out there and may God bless you all.